Hello everybody and welcome to our Fleurs lovely autumnal collection. Now, as you can see around me, I have got lots of autumn going on and it is just beautiful. Now, I have to admit, it really is my favourite season of the year, and we are firstly going to start off with our lovely aster, okay? So let me bring this in. This is what we're going to be making. Aren't they gorgeous? Okay. So that is what it looks like when it's finished. It is super, super easy to build and make, so don't worry about that. It really is. I'm not telling fibs. So the first thing that we need to do, we need to have our wire cutters, wire, our little foam ball for the middle, our dies, which I have here, and our cuts ready and raring to go. And then if you want to use it, it's either wet glue on some of it or you can use your hot glue gun as well, but please be careful when you're using your hot glue gun. And then we need our centre wrap, and then we also need our cuts, which I have here. But I'm going to do a little bit of inking and things on these, so let's get started. So to first of all, I'm going to cut myself a little piece of wire, roughly about, I'm going to say about 10 centimetres that. Oh, 9. I was out a little bit. Okay. And what I would ideally like to do is I would use hot glue for this. But just for purposes of showing. So I've popped my little foam ball down there. So this is where we start off with. So we're going to start off with a little lollipop. So it's essential to have your wires and your 2 centimetre foam balls for these, your polystyrene balls. And then I've got myself a little bit of a crepe paper. Now this piece of crepe paper I've just cut by hand and then I've stretched it to its fullest, okay? You're never going to get all the little wrinkles and lines out of it, but it's to the maximum. And this crepe paper that we use is 180% stretch. You'll find this on highlightcrafts.com. Okay, we've got some beautiful colorways. Now the pack I've done majority of my makes with is the neutrals, because they just sing to me autumn with the lovely oranges, red. We've got a little bit of brown going on in there. So all I've done is added wet glue to that little square of crepe paper, and then I folded it down and I'm just pinching and rotating to get it sealed around that wire at the base. Okay, now we're going to set that to one side for that to dry while we do our inking on the other elements. So pop that way. Now already in my packets, when you build this particular one, get all of these out, you have different variations of size. Okay, so you have a small, a medium and large. So I'll just bring the die in for this one. So these are the ones that we're working with, okay? So we have the small one, which is going to create the centre, which is that lovely stamen, green stamen in the middle. And then these three are the extra petals that go around the outside edge. So I've gone ahead and done already prepped. And it's entirely up to you when you're working with these, how many layers that you actually put on. So whether you want something that's really full or not so full. And I'm going to keep them in size order. So I've got my small, my medium and the larger one. And then these ones are my centres. So also we're going to need a green pen or green ink. Now that's entirely up to you which one you use. So I've got these lovely markers. Again, these are on Highlight Crafts website. And I'm going to add a little bit of colour to just touch on the edge of the stamen. I'm not doing all of it. I'm just adding it along one little piece, okay? And I'm literally, and these are alcohol markers, which is fabulous because then working with a crepe paper, you only have to ink one side with the markers because it soaks straight through. So that's one of the really fabulous ones of actually using these, because it's inked both sides, which is super quick. And all I'm doing is just tapping on the edge of that stamen like so, all the way along. No rhyme or reason. There's no get it right, get it wrong on these. It's just so easy to do. All the way along. Now with the stamen for this one, what I've actually done is I've laid it on the crepe paper. The non-stretch way. Okay, so the crepe paper, when you're working vertically like this with the grain, this is where it stretches. It gives like it would, like sometimes material. This way, it's not, doesn't stretch. And that's how I've used for the actual stamen. I've laid it on so it doesn't stretch. Okay, so it's gone on that way. Okay. And then when you're using your actual petals, I know this is the green one, but we are using the orange. That goes on working with the grain, okay? So when I say working with the grain runs vertically, and so do your petals, and you would cut them out like so. Okay, so now we've got these pieces. They're ready to go, but my next ones are my actual petals. And this is the smaller one, so we're going to work in size order. I've got my favourite VersaFine, because these just add beautiful colour to the crepe. A little bit of ink, and I'm literally going to brush on that edge like so. Okay, all the way along. And again, I'm not really thinking about this. It doesn't have to be perfect, because nothing in nature is perfect. Then we're flipping that over and go again down this edge. So then we've inked the tips of both sides of this one. Then I'm laying that to one side. Then we're going to go with the medium. And I think I'm actually going to do 2 of each to have quite a nice. So one of that one of the small, and then 2 medium and 2 of the larger one. And like I say, this one, we've worked with the grain. So when you actually look at the petal, the grain runs vertically down each petal, okay? So again, flip over and work from the other side. Now I'm working on a white piece of cardstock, so you can actually see it shows up really well, what I'm actually doing. But also it saves on mess. So here's another one. On there. Whoops. And what I tend to do is I'll cut, if I'm using the orange, I will cut all of the orange of one roll. And I'll make sure that I've got enough to make up full flowers as well. So that way, when you're batch making, you can fold the crepe in half. It will cut more than one layer. I usually prefer with the crepe, I only actually cut 3 layers. And I found that by cutting 3 layers, it doesn't crush the crepe quite so much. If you try and go for 4, 5 and 6, it will cut it, but I don't like that it crushes my crepe paper too much. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that petal over. And then again, a little bit of ink, like so. And again, I'm not really thinking, I'm just capturing on that edge all the way along. Turn it over and go back down the same again. And you could even play this back and actually ink along with me and then build step by step. That's why we do the videos like this, because if you did want to work alongside me while you're making your flowers, please do. And also don't forget to show me your makes. So all the way down like this. Autumn truly is my favourite time of year because of the colours that come out. I know spring is beautiful and summer, but I'm not very good with summer. I don't do well with the sunshine. So now we're going to go back to this lovely little ball, okay? And we're going to build the flower. And how easy is this? It couldn't get any easier really, could it? So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to shape or put a curve in my crepe. That way it's going to be easier for me to wrap. And, oops, stay. A little bit of wet glue across there. I know I've done a few of these, but it's up to you how many you use on your centre. And I start with a small, and we're going to go about halfway. Go around. And then when I meet up at the other side, I just keep on that same edge, okay, like so. And then I am going to do just one more. And that will give me a really nice full centre of stamen. But again, I'm starting with the shorter edge. And where I finished, I'm going to start again. Wrap all the way around. I'm keeping it on top of that first wrap. Keep going all the way until you're finished, and then just give it a good squeeze into the crepe paper that's on there. And then that is the lovely little centre of the flower. And when we finish, we will give it a little bit of a zhuzh. Okay, need a little bit of glue on the end of that there, like so. So there we are, that's the middle. Now we can do the rest. So what we're going to do for these is we need to put a little tiny little bit of a bend in them. Now to do that, I thought I'd got my pokey tool, so I'm going to use one of these instead. I'm just going to curl on the edge like so, just to add a tiny little bit of shape, or just use your fingers, but just be careful, hold on to your petal while you're doing this, because you don't want to pull your petals off of this base. Okay, so then I'm going to lay that down this way because we're going to glue across this edge, and this is our first row. And then I'm going to stretch it like that. Not all the way, just a little bit of a stretch. And this is going to go on top of that first one. Okay, I'm going to go all the way around and then keep going. And then where we start again meeting up and we've got a gap, I stretch the petal so it fits into the gap. Just keep going all the way around. And that way, you fill in all of those pieces. Now that in itself is a beautiful little flower, okay? So you could do these and just use them as on a long stem and do them as little tuck-ins, or use them and make a smaller actual project. So the next ones, again, keep hold of your petals while you're curling them. Just like so. Keeping going, keeping going, keeping going. In fact, I'm going to do all of these. So that's that one. And then my second medium one as well. Like so. And again, make sure you're keeping hold of your petals while you're doing this. And then, having your petals curling that way, little tiny bit of wet glue again. You don't have to put it all the way along either. You just have to capture some of it. And this time, we're going to glue a little bit further down from the first one. And as I go around, I am stretching, oops, stick the crepe paper a little bit at a time. And then when I get to the other pieces, like I said, where I've got a gap, I stretch and I fill in. Captured one of my petals there, look. And I fill in where I've got gap. And that way I can have control of where all of my petals are going to be, just like so. And then we're going to go again with this one. And what I do is where I've left off of one, we're going to join it up and go round again. So if I just spread that glue out a little bit. So join up again. And off we go, wrapping around. Okay, filling in the gaps where we see that we've got a gap. Just stretch the paper a tiny little bit and fill in that petal. And we'll have a little look from the top. Yeah, quite happy with all of that. Okay, so that's the second. And all I'm doing is I'm just squeezing that. So that's the second one. And now we've got those two larger ones. But exactly the same thing when you're doing these. What I tend to do when I'm making something like this is I'll do a whole box full. I'll get one of the, you know, the takeaway tubs, and I'll cut everything out, and then I'll sit and ink all of them. And then I'll just sit and build. And then this is going to be the final layer that we wrap on here. And how easy is this? And when you actually see the end result of what they look like when they're full and they're finished, they just are beautiful. A real joy to add to your autumnal makes. So maybe you're doing something a little bit Halloween-y, possibly. Can you see? You might be able to see behind me. I've got a little friend behind me. I'll show you him momentarily. So again, now this one goes a little bit further down. So by the time we've done all of this wrapping, we've covered all of that green, and we've got a fabulously full bloom. Just keep going all the way around. Just going to make sure that's better. This is where you have to have a little bit of patience. Have your wet glue to hand. Okay, like so. These just are stunningly beautiful. And then final one. And it's entirely up to you whether you stretch them or you leave them like this, where you just literally gluing on as you go. So I need to find where I finished. That's the one. And again, just all the way around, and pop my thumb on the inside where that bud is. And it gives me a little bit more control to add pressure to stick this down. So my thumb is just on the inside like that. And we go all the way around. Like I say, if you wanted to, you can make them where you just do them all with that first layer, so that small one. A little bit of glue on that edge. Like that. So you can do it with all the small ones. And now I don't particularly mind that I've squashed some of those, because the crepe paper really doesn't mind having a little bit of, you know, it can withstand it's quite robust. So if I just pull, oops, stamen back into the middle like so, and then fluff that up. I tend to give them a little bit of a spin. There we go. That is the beautiful aster. Aren't they just glorious? They really are, and so easy to make, aren't they? Okay, so he is going to sit inside there like so. Aren't they glorious? The colours are just stunning. So that is our lovely aster make. Thank you very much for coming and joining me. I hope that was a lot of help for you, and don't forget to show me your makes, and I hopefully see you all again soon. Bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button, subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all of our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.